Hi, guys. Welcome back to a holiday special version of Unlocking Venture Capital. I'm here with my good friend Darrell. Hey, Darrell, how's it going?
How you doing, Sydney? Super excited to be there. Happy holidays.
Yes, so really wanted to have this great holiday episode for you guys. Daryl's also a content creator. He's at Sirac Ventures as a VC, like myself, and he just does really great things for the community and has a great audience and following. So I love what you do every day. I love the energy that you put out, and I'm so happy to get to have this holiday sit down with you as we share and reflect back on our year. So yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for the invite. Super impressed by the work you're doing as well. Thank you for coming on as one of my VC guests a few months back. It's been incredible. A lot of people raved about your session. So keep up the excellent work. I'm a fan of your content, so appreciate the kind words about mine.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we just picked out some questions that people have asked us over this past year, and we're going to answer them for you guys and share some stories. So, Daryl, you have multiple shows that are going on. You've done multiple shows in the past as well. So, what do you think you've really learned from the different shows that you have done over the years, and how have you evolved as a creator?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I've evolved tremendously. My first foray into being like a content creator, I used to do these like daily tips on LinkedIn. They used to go
Nice.
viral back in like 2018. I used to just all day, I would write out a tip, like a business advice or a general like motivational tip, and I'll create like a graphic for it. And every single day I'll put it out and I'll get hundreds of comments. And I did that every single day for 1 year. And then I started to transition into my startup and VC career. But that was kind of how I got kicked off as somewhat of a content creator in 2018. And then from there, just really started to share my knowledge as a founder as well as an investor. And I would think to just figuring out who your audience is and who you're speaking to, and being
Right.
able to focus on what's the value that you provide to that audience, just like creating a product for a startup. Like you have to see your content as a product for a specific audience or it's not going to resonate with anyone. And then just
Yeah.
like building a brand around that is kind of what I've done and evolved to. And every single day it's iterating. Nothing is like set in stone. Every day I'm trying to figure out what's the next thing, how can I improve and just deliver more value. I feel like content is an excellent way to be able to expand your ability to serve people. And that's the primary reason why I do it. It's a scalable method of being able to help other people with my knowledge.
That is a great point. So my podcast, Unlocking Venture Capital, has also evolved just based on what the market was telling me, right? So just touching on that, like my first podcast was called a Venture X Spotlight. So that was when I was a founder, and I did a lot of interviews, mostly with angel investors. And so they were kind of more at in the rounds that we were in at the time as well. So that made a lot more sense. And then now, with the also the last one we played a little game. So we did an interview, we would play a little game, a virtual game, and then they would get to highlight and talk about either a portfolio company or a new initiative that they're really excited about or anything that they wanted to promote and talk about. So that was always like a three-step session. I got that from the Jimmy Fallon show when he used to do the interviews, and like it would be celebrities going on talking about their movies, and they would also play a little game, and then they would get to like talk about their movie afterwards. And so I always thought that was like a really great structure. So I used that structure during COVID because we could only do that like online, and we also had like very similar games to Fallon's games. And then with Unlocking Venture Capital, it was different because like we had the startups first come on as well as the investors at the beginning, right? And I got to then realize that because like you and I both invest in early stage and we know how fast things iterate at that stage, that by the time the episode comes out, it could be a completely new like startup and like it wouldn't make any sense. And we would take like all this time writing the description and like all of this like different kinds of audience that they would actually be going towards instead of the ones they were originating, and so that was really difficult to do deep dives with like 30-minute sessions for each of them. But like you, I just also wanted to find a way to amplify the help that I can provide, right? And a lot of times, because VCs tend to be really good with like pattern recognition, they're going to be the same kinds of problems, but in different like sheep's clothing, if you will. Yeah, so seeing if there were better ways to kind of amplify the assistance that you're giving founders would be tremendous. It just didn't work in the way that I thought it was going to work. So thank you so much for sharing. I had such a great time with your Get Funded show on Twitter X and it like the live show, and it was really fantastic the way that you've done it. And I know that you just have like people banging on your door hoping to get on the show like every day. So I definitely hope that that's going to be in the cards in 2025 for you, even though you're going to have so much more on your hands next year. So I do hope that.
Yeah, no, I think the show has been tremendous and it really came out of a need. I get founders, hundreds of founders every week just messaging me for advice. And I'm like, man, at one point I was actually taking phone calls with everyone. And I'm like, man, I need a way to
Really?
scale the ability to talk to all these founders. Like, you know what? Twitter Spaces just kind of got kicked off and people were using it. So I was like, I'm gonna do a Twitter space. And I started doing it solo, just me talking to founders. Then eventually VC friends started to join and I kind of formalized it into this pitch session that I do every single Friday. And,
Yeah.
I've had some really great testimonials. Founders have really gotten value out of these sessions where some of the VCs that they pitch, they actually are connecting with afterwards. Some have
Mhm.
even gotten checks from some of the from the investors that they've met on the show. So it's been incredible, just another way to, add value to the ecosystem. And yeah, it's really been organic just how the space has been coming along, and it allows me to really connect with founders in a new and meaningful way. And not many
Yes.
people are doing something like that. So I think it's unique, and it really allows people to build genuine connections and relationships, which can be very valuable.
No, absolutely. And, there's a great saying that when ordinary people do ordinary things in extraordinary ways, you command the attention of the world. And so definitely just find a unique way to deliver the thing that you want to deliver and you will command everybody's attention. And I really think that you have done that. So the next question that came about was someone asked me, what would be your top like funny moment or standout moment during a recording that you've had in the past like year? Let's say the year or two, but from you, would it be a year? So do you have one that stands out to you?
Man, I would say I did a session a few weeks back. It was Joshua Taylor, who's at Fifth Stars Funds, and Tanaka Teeves, he was at Mac Venture, but now he is at Capital Factory. And those are two of my friends that like we're friends outside of VC world.
Great.
And they were my guests for the office hours, and we were just chopping up, just having a really good time and just being super authentic and being myself with them while doing the same thing I do every week with VCs. That was probably the highlight of the sessions I've done because both of them are just really close friends of mine. We share the same bond in terms of our faith. And, I'm very bold with my faith in terms of religion, and they share the same faith as me. And it's just incredible how we can be our authentic selves in a space
Yeah.
like that. And it was super fun and incredible. So I would say that whole session between those two really was the highlight so far for me.
Isn't it so special and interesting when you have a very different recording and podcast when it's somebody who is your friend? You know what I mean?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's so different. So I re very recently his episode just came out this week actually. One of my good friends, Sean, he's in the Miami VC space, and he is a very funny person. And so my funny moment was like the whole time I was just like clenched. I don't know if you can see it in when you watch it, but I was just like clenched because like when he and I talk, he cusses a lot. And I was so afraid it's just going to be 30 minutes of him cussing the whole time. And I was like, oh, we're going to have a lot of interesting moments editing this, right? And then he also just like brings up like really funny analogies of things like in his like LinkedIn he talks about like oh I don't know when this founder came and he's doing like the SAS for aquariums. And I'm like, what is that? That's like not a thing. Obviously, he made it up, right? But he just like does these little bits and it just cracks me up. And so then I was like, I don't even know how to edit this for reels. Either they're all reels and they're all, one-off shorts, or it's like a whole interview. And it's like it was really interesting to be able to kind of see like how that was going to turn out. So that was
Yeah.
my funny moment. But that's also just like in my head, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I can add just being creators and creating content in ways where you pull in other people like we're doing right now. It's
Yeah.
also a unique way that you build friendships with the people that you're building content with. So like
Yeah.
we've, strengthened our friendship and relationship over the past few months of getting to know each other through the content that we both do. So I think that not only you're putting good content out there for the people, but you're also building lasting relationships when you're including other creators within your content. So keep it up,
Yeah.
Sydney. And also for those that have been on my show, I appreciate every one of you. It's been incredible being able to have you guys and working with you guys in this space.
Yeah, and I keep referring more people to your show as well because I was like, I feel like this would bring you value. I feel like this is going to be exactly perfect for the stage that you are at, and then you'll also meet other people who are also at that stage too. And so that I think is really interesting because that's really what you need, you know what I mean? People who are within reach, people who have the expertise in the stage that you are at, because anything else is just going to be very out of touch and maybe not up to date information that you would need. The next one is, oh, okay. I guess this could be related to the podcast or just in general, but if you had one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
One piece of advice to my younger self, I would say learn faster or earlier. I learned about venture capital when I was 25. So I was 3 years after graduating undergrad. And since then, I've been working towards building my career in venture.
Yeah.
But I wish I just knew about venture when I was in middle school or high school. I would have been
Mhm.
pursuing it from there. So the earlier you start your journey, the better, because sometimes it just takes years of compounding in terms of knowledge and networks and experience for you to really become an expert of that craft. So, I'm
Yes.
6 years into that, discovery of venture capital and, 3 years into my career. And I just wish I knew about it earlier because this is a passion of mine. I love what I do as an investor, and it's so great to be able to make money and do things that you love to do. It doesn't even feel like work. So I'm excited that I get to have this kind of impact in venture capital. I wish I was able to just start earlier, but everything happens for a reason. I'm excited about where I'm at today, but the earlier the better. And that goes for any career path that you're looking to pursue.
I absolutely agree. I always wish I started earlier as well. I mean, like, I was a founder at 25, and I felt like I wish I still did that earlier too. And therefore, that's the only way that I knew about venture capital as well. It's true. If you're not in the industry, you spend a lot of time explaining it. I spent time explaining it to my lawyer who had to write down my occupation, and then he obviously looked it up and then came back to me and goes, can I write financial advisor? I'm like, sure, it's nothing alike, but yeah, you can go ahead and write whatever you want. And so that's what it says on my legal forms. It says completely a wrong title because it is difficult for anyone else who isn't in the industry, right? And then when you're in the industry, you think everybody else is related to the industry in some way. It's like a what's it called, like ecocentric bias in your mind. So I really like that. I think my advice to my younger self would be to there's a great saying, like it's not about how many times you fall, it's about how quickly you get back up, right? And I didn't learn that lesson until I was a founder because there were so many things that go wrong every day. And so, but I wish that that was something that I could have saved myself a lot of hardship in so many scenarios, even before I was a founder. And I'm still working towards that end goal now to be like that and to be forward thinking. And I think that being in venture capital really does help. So a good friend of mine, Ben, he is a venture-backed founder from Canada. And he wants to know what you think of this quote. So, VCs want to be contrarian and right.
I would say that is an overpopularized statement that a lot of VCs use. And I think that VCs need to be okay with you know, just having their own mindset of how they think about deals and think about the future. because a lot of times they want to be contrarian, but by the desire to be contrarian, they're just wrong. So it's not about, hey, everyone's zigging left, I'm gonna zig, zag right. Really about, do you fundamentally understand the foundations of what make a good investment? And do you have your own conviction of what you think the future will be like and what it takes for those founders to get there, and underwriting that opportunity for those founders to actually have a great outcome? And if you don't really understand those fundamentals, then it doesn't matter what you see other people doing. You really just put the blinders on and
Yeah,
focus on your own thesis and vision of what's going to bring massive returns for yourself and your limited partners.
that's
So I
true.
would say, these statements are hype and popularized, but do you really understand the business and focus on the things that matter, not what the popular statements or things that people are saying? That's not how you run a business. That's not how you become a great investor. You got to really be a self-thinker and a critical thinker on your own right.
Well, what do you think of, let's say, one of the top, well, probably the top investor, Marc Andreessen, in investing over 300 million in Andy Neumann, right? And who like famously lost a lot of money from WeWork and therefore was able to, based on idea concept stage, was able to raise that much money, more money than most founders can possibly raise in their entire lifetimes, or most funds can even raise in an entire lifetime of a fund. And so that is for sure contrarian because you found someone who is like a lot of people would be like fundamentally uninvestable and very scared for the way that we're going to be able to return money back to our LPs. And yet, a leader in the space is like, I'm just going to do this myself. And so that I think is so that challenges this thought to the T, Like, are you basing it off of what? The popularity, the Netflix documentary that does not show him in a good light? Or like, what is it that is going to make you both contrarian and right in this kind of scenario? You know what I mean? So I think of that story when I think of this, because that is a lot of money. That is an insane amount for idea stage, for his company Flow. What are your thoughts?
I don't know Mark's underwriting process, but I'm sure since he's been so successful in his career that
Hmm.
he obviously knows what he's doing. Let's hope so. But nonetheless, I believe that he's built a brand, a reputation, and a track record that even if he's wrong, it's not going to end his career. So
Yeah,
I think once you reach that status and you have those resources and the connections to continue to make investments and raise capital, whether that succeeds or not, you have the ability to swing big and make
yeah,
large bets.
yeah.
Nonetheless, the big headline, get you attention.
Huge
They
headline. Yeah,
any attention is good attention. So in that case, I think regardless is going to be a good outcome for him depending on his strategy. So that's kind of my thoughts, but I don't really look into those things too much. It's just I feel like oftentimes the celebrity VCs per se, they're playing a different game than what I'm playing. I work at an emerging fund. We are dealing with smaller fund sizes. We are dealing with different kinds of founders we're backing, and we play a different game. And
yeah.
playing by my rules, I let them play by theirs.
No, for sure. And like, I think that, like you said, just from the headlines, there will be a lot of traction based on association, right? So a lot of VCs, they may not do their own underwriting or their own due diligence in the same way, but based on association, because it is part of their thesis, they will, consider these XYZ factors as a weighted options for how they're going to make their decisions. This is a really good question. So, what is a typical day for an investor with podcasts? What are your behind the scene things that you think others don't know or you would like to share?
Hmm. You want to start that one off first?
Sure, yeah. So I have a few behind the scene tricks that I use to make life easier because this is the thing too, right? If you are creating something, there's only one of you, you have some help, yes or no, right? But it's going to be limited in terms of time and everything is like crunch. And so my bed, my wardrobe, everything is full of clothes, mostly just tops. So then it looks like I have recorded on many different days when I've actually done a lot of my recordings on the same day. So some days I actually have like 8 recordings and I have 8 different outfits just like laid out. And I love that. I used to do that when I was a founder for social media videos, like reels or stories, like Instagram stories, those kinds of things. And I would just change clothes and it would just look more or less different. So I like to do that. I'm also just like that deep work kind of person, right? You want to have as little task switching costs as humanly possible. And I think as a content creator, when you're doing podcasts, when you're guesting on other people's podcasts, it is really important to be able to do that because then it just does seem like you're everywhere at once.
That's awesome. Super smart. I did not know that, but that's awesome that you, I feel like you're able to, time box and get a lot of that content out in one day so you can focus on other things because
Yeah.
content does take a long time. And if you're doing it in a very systematic way, you can really be efficient with your time. So kudos to you for doing that.
Yeah, 80/20 rule, right?
Oh, yeah. Cool. I can jump in. I think when I was listening to you, I just came up with the fact that what helps me be successful in content creation and using it as a medium for my work. Because for me, as an investor, my day job is not content creation. I use it as a tool to aid
Hmm.
my day job as an investor. So I would say leveraging community and using your media or your content as a way to build community that you can leverage for investing and raising capital.
Hmm.
And I would say the combination of the one to many, which is the content, but then also using the one to many to build more relationships for one-to-one interactions. So a
Yeah.
lot of times I would tweet and host these events, and people will follow me, they'll message me. And for those that I really feel like I could build a strategic relationship with, or they're, someone that I just think that, I should get to know deeper, I always reach out and say, hey, we should set up time for a one-on-one just for general introductions. And overdoing that over the past few years, I built a strong network of people that I don't just have a surface level relationship with, I have a deeper level relationship with. And when you do that over time, it becomes a really strong network that you can leverage to succeed within the content even further. So it kind of amplifies the content because the people that you're connected to, they have a stronger affinity for the things that you're doing because you took that extra work to build a relationship. So I would say using content as top of the funnel, the one to many, but for the right audiences, dive deeper and take those one-on-one calls. Sometimes I do a 20-minute introduction call and I'll probably never speak to that person again. But that one touch point, that one 20-minute call, now when we see each other's content, it's more meaningful because I kind of know the person a little bit more behind the scene than just seeing their content and they're kind of just a stranger that's on the internet.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. I love these different touch points that you have. There was a great VC who once said, what was it? You need 20 touch points to build a relationship, right? And I was like, 20? And so like that that feels like it's so many. And then another friend of mine, he was like, yeah, when you build relationships, also just depending on which culture and which part of the world you're in, it is not just like you have a coffee with someone. So he is from India and he explained this to me and he was like, it is like you're having 10 coffees and a buffet. And I'm like, what? Also, that sounds delicious. Oh my gosh. What would be an unusual company that Darrel would like to invest in one day? So it doesn't have to exist now, and it doesn't have to be any part of your VC fund, just like your own personal like investment. I could think of a few.
So for those that know me, I speak about my own personal investment thesis very publicly, and it's on the lines of investing in companies that are helping to close the wealth gap and democratize access to wealth building opportunities. So I always look for new ways that help individuals and small businesses and individuals and also larger businesses as well. How do you help them make money?
Mhm.
So the more unique ways that you're helping people make money, that's kind of what I want to invest in. I don't have an example top of mind. I could probably look some up. One thing that I always do, I'm a prior founder as well, that when I come up with business ideas, I have this like sheet that I actually write a lot of notes of these business ideas. So I could probably pull up
Oh,
one of the
nice.
ideas. But yeah, anything that just helps people get access to wealth building opportunities, that's kind of what really is important to me. I feel like most people, especially those that aren't wealthy already, they're constantly thinking of their finances. They're constantly thinking of how can I make more money? How can I become wealthy? How can I build wealth? And those technologies that are helping people do so, I think there's a lot of opportunities to do good in the world as well as make a lot of money. So that's what I'm out there looking for every single day. So if that's you, talk to me. I'd love to help you out and write a check.
I have a great resource of an influencer that I've been like gobbling up consumer wise like crazy. Her name is Vivian too, and she's from New York, and she talks about helping people be better with their money. And I love how relatable she is. Also, she kind of looks like me, so I feel relatable to her. I will shoot that over to you and see if that's helpful to anyone that you're talking to. Um, so for me, I don't know why, but I've always had this dream that I've wanted to invest in a beehive and a bee colony. And it's
You got to
not like I
unpack
don't
that.
really actually want to be around the bees. I would like someone else to take care of it. I would just like to invest in this sector. And I think that that would be, if there was like a great way to do it, that would be fantastic. If there was an easy way to do it. Maybe they don't have to be in my backyard, but they could be in someone's backyard.
So what will this be for like return or will this be like just passion? Like what would be the motive behind this?
Okay, so I don't even know if the model is going to work, but you can do it a little bit of both ways, right? Because bees are really important for pollination, and they are responsible for like 30+% of all of our food in the world. It would create jobs. It would produce lots of honey that you can also sell as like a fair trade honey, which is great because they also overproduce, I believe, more than what's needed and what's there. And so if you're doing this in a sustainable way, you can be generating. I mean, it's not going to like make you a millionaire, I think, but it would be a self-sustaining model. And I think that that's really important to do. We actually did have something similar in Montreal where they were training people who were unhoused to take care of bees. And I don't think that exists anymore because like I think that, you just needed to maybe have a few tweaks in the business model to make it work. But I thought that was like a really cool thing. And they put it on rooftops because rooftops were highly underutilized in most cities, including in Canadian cities.
Wow. Wow. Interesting. Well, look, you got a funder, you guys. If you guys want to start that company, City's gonna write you a check.
Exactly. I really love just kind of thinking back on like how far we've come in 2024 and just where we might want to go in the next year. Is there any particular thing? And I love this question. It's originally from Tim Ferriss when he does his New Year's resolution. So guru investor in Silicon Valley, invested in a lot of incredible tech companies, um, and the author of the 4 Hour Work Week, which you and I obviously work way more than that. But every year, instead of like a New Year's resolution, there's like a New Year's like no list. So like, what are you going to cut out? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to let go of in 2025 that will make Darrel and Sydney better?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And surprisingly, my pastor just this past Sunday preached on this exact topic. What are you gonna
Really? Oh, because he and I got together and we were talking about you.
Exactly, exactly. So shout out to Pastor Ray Owens. Definitely been thinking about this since your sermon this past Sunday. For those that you guys that do not know, I have one daughter and I have a wife, and my wife is pregnant with our second child. So we're gonna be preparing for that. Our second kid should be here in June. So just preparing, just that father journey again is with the newborn, just being able to focus on family. I realized when I became a father the first time that I had to really become disciplined with my time.
Mm,
And prior to being a father, work and just, being able to do as much as I can in the day job, I would work hours upon hours and like not stop. I've gotten really great at just time boxing, like, hey, this is the time for work, this is the time for family. And, as I have a newborn again, there's going to be time to really just get good at time management and being able to give my family the time that's needed, especially in this crucial season of having a newborn. So I would just say time management and just make sure I have my priorities straight in regards to where I'm utilizing my time for my family, and then also still got to work too. So just being able to manage my time effectively is where I'm going to be focusing.
I love that. No, that's really great. I don't think I have anything that would be bigger than having a newborn in the family at all. I just use my trick of having lots of clothes around. So you can put on your dad clothes and then put on your work clothes and you'll find it. You'll get the hang of
That's the trick. Yeah, I gotta take that one.
it. Yes. Um for for me, what do I have to let go of? What do I have to say no to? I think that sometimes when you're like really, really focused on things and the outcome isn't always what you expected, I can spiral. It's just in my own mind. And then finding ways to kind of come out of that rabbit hole of spiraling is very difficult because you have no one to say no to. It's just your own brain. And I feel like it's very, very difficult. So yeah, so whether there are going to be like deals that you didn't get, whether there are opportunities that, came your way that was not right for you, or too many wrong opportunities that came your way. That actually happens a lot. I'm the best at attracting the wrong opportunities. Um, but being able to say no to those things and say no to the spiraling effect afterwards, I think is going to help tremendously. So I will make a vow to you that I will practice that more.
You got this. I believe in you. I actually have one, as you were speaking, I got one that I actually started implementing this week. And that's no to TikTok doom scrolling and social media at night.
Oh,
I'm now every night am picking up a book, usually on my Kindle app, but sometimes a physical book. And it's so much more a productive use of my night as
yes.
opposed to scrolling. I just feel like at this point, there's not much I'm learning from a
Yeah.
different social media usage that I
Mhm.
just pick up a really strategic book that I can read and learn more about the things that I'm passionate about. So right now I'm reading a book called um, what's the title of that book? It just left me for a second. Well, for one, I read my Bible every night, but the second book that I'm reading, if I could pull it up for just a second, it's called Higher Purpose Venture Capital.
Okay.
And that book talks about how it can bring alignment of maximizing return and doing good with venture capital. And that's a mindset that I have deeply within myself. And the reason why I became a VC, I really believe that there's a great alignment of investing in companies that do good in the world, but also can drive massive returns. And I think the notion of you got to forego impact and just focus on returns, that actually negates returns, in my opinion. I really believe that focusing on aligning the impact actually maximizes your ability to drive massive returns. And having impact at the forefront of your decision making from an investment standpoint will make returns an abundant byproduct. But when you think about the money first, it actually negates and kind of stops you from getting what you truly want. But when you think about helping and serving people at the highest levels, that's when the returns become a byproduct. So that's the book I'm reading right now. I really enjoy it. And I'm just going to keep finding books that are aligned with my passions. And instead of doing TikTok or any type of social media at night, just gonna read and try to read as many books a year, maybe 30 a year. If I can do that, that'd be awesome.
Oh, amazing. My goal is like 2 to 5 pages a day. So right now I'm reading The Secrets of Sand Hill Road, which you probably know. It's a very popular book by yeah, and by a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley. And so right now my chapter is on the power law. So I'm still on that. But I love that goal. I think that that's a really great thing to do, and to also just give your brain a break from that state that unfortunately is so easy to fall into. And that's part of, I mean, they're doing their jobs correctly by making you do this, you know? It's not, it's not like, somebody is winning in this scenario. But it's good that we are able to kind of like withstand that and make better decisions for ourselves. And having said that, I think that those are all of the top questions that I have been asked. Were there any that you have been asked through this year that you wanted to share?
I want to ask you, Sydney, what is your North Star? And in 2025, will it be your new North Star or will it be the same one that you've been pursuing?
I think it'll be the same one that I've been pursuing, which is to change my environment to change my life and therefore change my career path too. I think that we are all in some way a product of those that we are around. And I think that being able to find my people and find my place is a great North Star to have. And that feeling that you have the same feeling that you would have when your friends come on your podcast. You know that you're with your people because these are the people that make you great, right? That help you do what you do best with the least amount of effort. And that's why you love the things that you do. And I would love to have that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Darrell. And also just thank you for your time of coming on to do this reflection with me, to do this holiday wrap up with me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you do, what you create every day, and the energy that you put out.
Thank you. No, this was a pleasure to be able to reflect. These are questions that I haven't thought too much about, but definitely was helpful for myself to think about these things. So thank you for what you're doing. I'm super appreciative of our friendship and excited for what you're going to do in 2025. So whatever ways that I could be helpful and supportive to you, please feel free to reach out anytime. And anyone listening, I really live by being able to be a servant to others. So if there's any way that I myself can be helpful to you, I would love for the opportunity to serve you and to be supportive.
Absolutely. And same here, Darrell. You have my contact, so ring me up anytime. And I wish you a great happy holiday with your family. Thank you so much again. And thank you everyone. And I wish you guys also a fantastic holiday.